Hey guys, it's your boy OTG197. I'm probably the best Nuzlocker in the world.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
And in this video, we're returning to Renegade Platinum and attempting a hardcore Nuzlocke using only Dark-type Pokemon. Now I assume most of you know what a hardcore Nuzlocke is, but in case you don't, in this playthrough I can only use the first Pokemon encountered in any area, and in this case only Dark types. If a Pokemon faints, it is considered dead and can no longer be used. No items can be used in battle. All battles are played on set mode. We cannot overlevel gym leaders or the league. And if a battle is lost, we start over from the beginning. Additional rules in the description. I don't use legendaries, so these will be the Pokemon available to us in this run. And if you notice, we have a few Pokemon that aren't normally Dark types, but we're given it in this ROM hack, including Luxray, Seviper, and Feraligatr. So let's see how these Dark types can handle a hardcore Nuzlocke of Renegade Platinum. None of the Sinnoh starters will give us the Dark type, so I select Chimchar so that I won't have to deal with Infernape from either of these two. The Eevee our mom gives us is our first viable encounter and will later become my favorite Pokemon, Umbreon. So for now, we use it to get through the start of the game until we get past Sandgem Town, where we have a chance at Houndour and Poochyena. So in my mind, Houndour is the better option and it's what I'm hoping to find, and that's what we get. We face the rival and raise our attack with some Howls against Starly, and then get by him after Bite one-shots Starly, and then Piplup, and then we get a lucky flinch on the Munchlax. After this, on this route, I can catch a Seedot who will join the team after I evolve it, but then while training it up, it goes down against a wild Corphish, and then immediately after, with only Houndour, we fail the run against this youngster with fighting types. On to the next attempt. In the next attempt, we get another Houndour, but then before even getting to the rival, we lose against an ordinary trainer. In our next attempt, this time I get Poochyena instead of Houndour and get by the rival after a few lucky crits on our bite, though we are holding Scope Lens, so our chances of that were increased. I then get my Seedot and this time evolve it into Nuzleaf safely. Then I take on the youngster with his fighting types, and luckily for me our Nuzleaf has a decently strong hidden power Psychic, so he is no issue for us. In the Orbor Gate, Roark offers us a stone of our choice, and with a Moonstone we could evolve Eevee into Umbreon, but I opt for the Leaf Stone, which lets us evolve Nuzleaf into Shiftry, giving us a third stage grass type before the Rock Gym. I lead Poochyena against his Nose Pass and chip it with a few bites as we take a Thunder Wave and it sets up Sandstorm and Stealth Rock. I then switch to Shiftry on a weak Shockwave and we finish it with Bullet Seed. The Bonsly can live a Bullet Seed as we only get 2 hits and its Rindo Berry reduces the power of our first hit, but it just goes for Defense Curl and on the next turn goes down. Geodude takes 4 times damage and we're boosted by a held Miracle Seed, so it's an easy one-shot. Then the Onix is faster and hits a Bulldoze, which does a little damage but reduces our speed, but Bullet Seed takes it out in 1 turn. With our speed reduced, I switch to Poochyena to bring it back to normal, who goes down to Larvitar's Guts boosted Bulldoze. This sacrifice lets Shiftry come back in to take it out with a Bullet Seed, and outspeed the Ace Cranidos, who goes down to another, ending the battle. 1 badge. Before I leave Orberg, I catch a Larvitar in the route above, which won't have the Dark type for a while, but we can use it later, and then likewise I get Totodile in Floroma Town, cause as I mentioned earlier, Feraligatr gets the Dark type in this game, but still, I have to face Mars with only a Shiftry, and a Rock Tomb takes out her Zubat, but Yanma outspeeds, nearly one-shotting us with Silver Wind, but it goes down, and then Perugly takes us out, ending another run. In the next 2 runs, I lose to the rival again, first with Houndour, then with Poochyena, but then I get by this battle again with Poochyena, who I actually would find to be more reliable for this fight overall. With stronger bites thanks to its buffed attack stat, it can more easily score one-shots after its Howls, and it is not weak to Piplup or Munchlax's water and rock moves, so sometimes the AI just does stuff like use Amnesia. I would start opting for Poochyena at the beginning, which thankfully I can guarantee as Houndour is a Pokeradar exclusive encounter. In my mind, I was thinking Houndoom would be needed for the upcoming fights against Gardenia and Aaron, but we'll have to see what we can do when we get there. Anyways, I discovered even without a super effective hidden power, Nuzleaf can get by this fighting trainer pretty reliably by giving it the scope lens and hoping to score some crits with Bullet Seed. We face Roark again, and things are cleaner this time. The battle is essentially the same, only this time we take out the Nose Pass without it setting up Sandstorm, which then makes the Onix use Sandstorm instead of Bulldoze, so we stay faster than his other team members and take them out. I would come to find later on that so long as I Eevee train Shiftry to have a speed stat of 37 or higher, by the time the Onix comes out, this fight can be done deathless incredibly reliably. Though we can't have too much of a good thing, cause immediately after I lose Poochyena to these Galactic grunts, and knowing I won't beat Mars with just Shiftry, I reset again. This has been really ugly, but just fast forwarding to the next run, I evolve Poochyena to Mightyena at level 18 and have no issue with this fight, and so now I can face Mars with both my team members. I got us to level 23 to give us a little advantage since we only have 2 team members, and this lets Mightyena know Crunch, which one-shots Zubat, as well as Yanma. Then Perugly comes in and I switch to Shiftry on Fake Out, then back to Mightyena to drop its attack with Intimidate. I take a Facade and then go back to Shiftry to take a few more as I lower its speed with Rock Tomb, and then our expert belt Brick Break can take it out from there. Bronzor is her last, so I send back in Mightyena, and with this game having the Gen 6 and onward matchup chart, the super effective Crunch easily one-shots it, and so now we finally have a run going. With Shiftry and Mightyena, we easily beat Cheryl, but we can't go on much longer with just 2 members. After using the EXP share to get our Eevee to level 22, it learns Wish, which we really want our Umbreon to have, and thankfully after making it out of the forest, we find a Moonstone and can get our Umbreon. The great thing about Umbreon is with its Synchronize ability, it can give us a good chance at giving its nature to our wild encounters, so I made sure it would have a nice one for physical attackers to help out with encounters like our next 2, which are Murkrow in the forest and Sneasel on Route 216. I also catch a Corphish, which we can use when it evolves. Man, we've got a lot of team members we can't use yet, but with the ones we've got, we can go on to take on the Eterna City gym leader, Gardenia. Against her, I leave my Umbreon and hit Blossom with a Captivate to lower its special attack as we take a Stun Spore which paralyzes the both of us thanks to my Synchronize ability. However, mine is cured by our Cherry Berry. I continue to Captivate Blossom until it is at -6 special attack, and we are paralyzed again so that it won't go for Stun Spore on our switch to Mightyena. I go behind a Substitute as it attempts to Stun Spore us, which fails, and the AI continues to Stun Spore, letting me raise our attack with 6 Howls, and then take it out with Crunch. Breloom breaks our sub with Mach Punch, but even a resisted Crunch one-shots it at +6. We have enough Eevees to outspeed Roserade, and it goes down easily. The only thing that can live a Crunch is Cherrim because of its Focus Sash, but it only goes for a sunny day, and then goes down, as does Grotle, getting us an easy win. 2 badges. In the Galactic hideout against Jupiter, I have Mightyena intimidate Golbat twice, heal back damage taken with Umbreon's Wish, and now its Leech Life won't break our Substitute, so I go behind one, set up a Howl, and take it out with Crunch. Skuntank goes down to +1 dig, and Tangela is a 2-shot with Crunch. Against her final Pokemon Sableye, Shiftry takes its hits really easily, and it goes down after 2 Bullet Seeds. We then defeat Mira while sacrificing Shiftry to make her Togetic easier to take out, and her Porygon 2 gives us some trouble, but a sorta lucky crit from Mightyena takes it out, and then Kadabra and Haunter are easy one-shots. And then moving on, we catch Stunky outside of Wayward Cave, and Sableye inside. And then something incredibly stupid happens, and I was streaming the run at the time, so let's just watch. Oh my god. Oh, he caught us! I didn't want to fight this guy. It is Torkoal. Alright. Not saying. We're just gonna have to chip him down with crunches. I hope he doesn't have any physical attacks to hit us with. All these curses. This is why I didn't want to fight this guy. I'm probably just gonna sack Sableye. It was nice knowing you. Oh god.
Let me see if I might be able to catch him being stupid. He's just gonna attack. With like 1 HP. Yeah. That happened. Is it worth just like even continuing? Like, I don't know. Bro, we might even just wipe to this guy. How funny would that be? I think we're going to. Alright. Well, on that note. Yeah, maybe I can get Technician Sneasel. Better Murkrow, maybe. But alright, thanks for coming by. Hope you'll come by tomorrow to see me f up that stupid asshole and his stupid Torkoal. Because it will happen. We will get vengeance.
And that I would do the next day, getting our vengeance in a triumphant victory.
Bro, Emery, get this asshole out of here. F that guy.
But we can't celebrate too long as we now have a fight with Lucas before progressing forward, but things already take a turn for the worse even before him.
Right, please do not. Are you f***ing kidding me? Oh my god. That's like our most important Pokemon for this run. Self-destruct is so f***ing stupid. Oh, that's like our literal best Pokemon. Not even just that Umbreon's my favorite Pokemon, it's like literally the most important Pokemon of this run. To the point where I might play up to Fantina, low-key, just for the stream, but like, I might just reset after that.
So I say I might reset, but Lucas doesn't really give us much of a choice as he has a Grand Bull, which proves to be a huge problem.
Reliable in any sense, and see if there's anything I should change about it. Let's take down, we'll kill it. So here, the Grand Bull's simply the scariest thing. I'm on the fence of whether the right play is to intimidate it, because it does have play rough. I'm gonna just go to Stunky, probably sacking this thing to this. Yeah, we gotta lower its attack for the most damage. That does like nothing. Look how much damage that does. Anyways, it goes for Thunder Fang and gets the paralysis. Awesome. Let's go for Fake Out for damage. And maybe at -1 we can live this. Probably not. Or maybe it could miss. Or it could just crit us. Alright, Drill Peck from Honchkar should kill this thing. Right, that's a strong move. Oh my god, it didn't. Alright, -1 though, we should live that. Is he gonna heal? This asshole. Wait, I think I'll just sack this guy. Yeah. This is our most damage. That looks like it might 2-hit kill. But that will just 1-hit kill, so. Cool. Oh my god. I did not even consider this thing as like a big problem, but it looks like it will be. I'll have to figure something out for this. That can't even OHKO that? Jeez. Oh, that's stupid Grand Bull. Alright, well. That's that.
So, time for another attempt, but this one barely gets anywhere as Lucas just seems to really have it out for me.
This guy. This guy. I hate this mother. Oh my god. I'm actually mad looking at him right now. I am like unironically upset just having to stand next to this piece of garbage. Oh my god, stop asking me. No. I don't want to nickname him. Yes, what the I'm tilted. I'm so tilted. Oh my god.
So Lucas takes us out with a crit Razor Leaf and then nearly ends our next run as well.
So long as this does not crit. Not this time, motherfucker.
But instead, the fighting type youngster is the one who ends our run. So yeah, the streams were not going that well, and it was entirely my fault. And I'd like to apologize, because I usually like to watch the language in my videos, but you won't get that so much in my live streams, especially when I'm playing this bad. The thing is that I'm just rushing, because having people watch me for the first time made me want to just go fast, so there was no downtime for my viewers, but it's clear that I need to slow down and think out my strategies. By taking the time to evolve Croconaut to Feraligatr, the Graveler and Torkoal trainers are a piece of cake, and by evolving Stunky to Skuntank, it helps out majorly with the mirror fight and gets us by the Gramble, allowing us to defeat Lucas. So now surely I'm done making stupid mistakes.
Yeah. Wait, I forgot to teach it Substitute. No! Oh my god, I forgot to teach it Sub over Taunt! Oh my god, such Alright, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna test out that fight again.
Okay, this is the last time, I swear. So yeah, as I said, before resetting, I test out my strategy for this fight, as it's gonna be a tough one for dark types, and after some time to optimize it, this is what we did. This fight is very much like the Gardenia fight, where I debuffed the lead Pokemon's offensive stats with Captivate, this time using Honchkrow because I need a female for this. I stall out its attempts to status me with a berry, paralyze it, and then send Mightyena in to abuse the poor AI and set up behind a substitute. Beautifly breaks our sub because of Focus Sash, but we set up another on a healing turn, and then Venomoth and Scizor go down to a crunch, and Drapion to a dig. And I think I have to give a big shout out to Mightyena. I was worried having it for Gardenia and Aaron instead of Houndoom would be a liability, but he actually puts in a lot of work and has carried us thus far. Anyways, now that we finally got our run on its feet and our strategies for the early game down, hopefully I am done playing terrible and we can clean things up from here. I should say I'm not going to penalize the dark type too heavily for so many resets, because they're honestly way more to do with me playing bad than the type being bad. That being said, our next gym fight is against Fantina and her ghost types, a good matchup for us. Yet again, I start by captivating the lead Drifblim with Umbreon as it tries setting up Calm Minds, but eventually passes -6 special attack to our most threatening Pokemon, Mismagius, which is exactly what we wanted. In this game, it has the Fairy type, so it can be a bit scary for our Dark types, but at -6, Skuntank can easily come in and dispose of it, as well as her Gengar. I switch back to Umbreon on her Drifblim to make sure it can't set up on us, with it eventually going to Dusclops, who isn't very threatening, especially after burning itself with our Synchronize, and can easily be set up against with Mightyena, who cleans up the rest of the battle. 3 badges. We then face the rival, who gives us a close call with our Honchkrow, who takes 2 Brick Breaks from Heracross, but we get by him with no issues, and then team up against Team Galactic in the Trophy Garden. The honorary Dark-type Seviper puts in major work for us, taking out the Wigglytuff, Raichu, Espeon, and Bronzong, which then lets Umbreon and Sableye clean up against Octillery and Toxicroak. From there, we make our way to Glaceon Town, where before exploring the ruins, Lucian gives us TM29 Psychic, which will be very useful for the next gym, and at the Hollowed Tower we can catch Spiritomb, who will also be great for the gym. A Razor Claw can be found on Route 215, which lets us evolve Sneasel to Weavile, and then we can finally get our Houndour on Route 214 and immediately evolve it to Houndoom, and with that, we're ready for the Veilstone Gym Leader, Maylene. We have the type disadvantage here against fighting types, but our 2 ghost types should help us out, as Sableye easily handles the lead Medicham, and then against Machamp we switch to Feraligatr for the Intimidate on a weak payback, then go to Spiritomb to avoid its close combat, and take it out with 2 Psychics. Infernape comes in, and I go to Feraligatr again on a weak Fire Punch, and then back to Sableye on close combat to avoid it, get some chip damage with Fake Out, and then head back to Feraligatr for another Intimidate and to take its Fire Punch. I do one more cycle of this as it chips itself with its Life Orb, and then finally take it out with an Aqua Jet. Toxicroak comes in and I go to Spiritomb for the immunity on its Drain Punch, and we take a weak Ice Punch before one-shotting with Psychic. Lucario comes in and I switch to Sableye, who just barely lifts its Flash Cannon, and chip it with a Fake Out to break its Focus Sash. Now, usually flinching Lucario would be bad, with its abilities being Steadfast and Inner Focus, but in this game Lucario was given Adaptability, which this one has, making this a safe strategy, and since it can't hit us with fighting moves, we have a free switch to Houndoom on a Flash Cannon, and finish it with a Stab Flamethrower. Then, her final Pokemon is Gallade, whose only damaging moves are Drain Punch and Zen Headbutt, neither of which can affect our Ghost Dark types, so Spiritomb closes things out with a crit Shadow Ball to add insult to injury. 4 badges. So after defeating Maylene, we make our way to Pastoria, but I first face the trainers in this hotel who give our team good experience, and then before we face Wake, we have a few new encounters, including Absol, Carvanha, and Scorpy in the Great Marsh. We make our way through Route 212 to have Wake return to his gym, but before entering, we face our rival again. With the Choice Band, our Weavaw's Ice Shard easily one-shots his lead Staraptor, then Heracross comes in and I switch to Spiritomb for the immunity on its Brick Break, a Megahorn does big damage, and our Psychic can't quite one-shot, so I switch to Skuntank to take another and finish it off. Against Arcanine, I switch to Feraligatr, lowering its attack with Intimidate, and we take a weak Thunderfang, but take it out with Earthquake and Aqua Jet. The Breloom comes in, and it's really scary as it can go for a fighting or grass move here, so I switch back to Skuntank on a Force Palm, and then get off a final Poison Jab to break the Sash, and sacrifice it as our first death. This lets me bring in Seviper to finish the job with Poison Tail, who also takes out Snorlax with a few Poison Tails after barely being able to live 2 Body Slams. His last is Empoleon, but it has nothing to hit our Feraligatr hard with, as 2 Earthquakes take it out. Moving on, we defeat all the gym trainers and then face off against the Pastoria gym leader, Wake. I lead Spiritomb, and we're actually slower than his Quagsire, so we take a hard Aqua Tail, but get rid of his Rain with Sunny Day, and then I burn the Quagsire with Will-O-Wisp before switching to Shiftry and taking it out with Bullet Seed. Gyarados comes in, and I switch to Feraligatr to offset its Dragon Dance with Intimidate, and after a weak Aqua Tail, he switches to Poliwrath on our Crunch. I go to Spiritomb predicting a Drain Punch, but we're put to sleep with Hypnosis, so I then do some switching back and forth between Feraligatr and Spiritomb on its incoming moves to progressively lower its attack, and then with Umbreon I set up a Wish, which lets me get Feraligatr back to full health. I then have Umbreon hit it with a Toxic as it luckily misses Hypnosis, and I begin stalling it down with Wish and Protect as its Drain Punches do very little damage now, and after whittling it down, I have Seviper finish it off. Gyarados comes back in, but I send Feraligatr in again to keep it from getting out of hand with Dragon Dance, and another Crunch doesn't take it out, but Wake then heals and we get better damage ranges on our next 2 Crunches, so it goes down. I have Umbreon come in to poison and stall out the Ludicolo, and here I actually realize I forgot to put leftovers on Umbreon, so it is not quite as good as it would normally be, but it's still good enough to get the job done. I do the same to his Floatzel, who can't break through our bulky Umbreon, and then his last Sharpedo has nothing to hit our Feraligatr with, and we finish the battle with an Earthquake and Aqua Jet. 5 badges. Moving on from Wake, we...
What the fuck? Get over here!
Okay, well now we're sent on our way to Celestic Town by Cynthia, and on the way there we lose Seviper in a double battle against a couple ace trainers. This is always a tough fight, but it's fine because we can have another Poison Dark type in Drapion fill in the spot and lead off against him. Drapion takes a Dazzling Gleam for some damage against the lead Alakazam, but gets the one-shot with Night Slash. Then comes in Mamoswine, so on the Earthquake I pivot to Honchkrow, then to Feraligatr on a Stone Edge that misses us, and we take a few Earthquakes before finishing it off. Then comes the dreaded Gramble, and I switch to Drapion as it locks itself into close combat, and for some reason I don't trust the one-shot with Poison Jab after it drops its defense, so I switch to Honchkrow on another, and then take it out with a Fly. I don't really agree with this play in hindsight, but I suppose it worked out. Then his Vaporeon is completely walled by our Umbreon, so with Toxic I chip it down, and then pass a Wish to Feraligatr before finishing it off. I switch to Houndoom on the incoming Woodhammer from Torterra, and a Flamethrower then takes it out. In his last Pokemon, Lickilicky, I have Feraligatr take out with a few crunches. This fight against Lucas kicks off a gauntlet of boss fights, as there are many we will have to face leading up to the next gym, with our next being our first fight against Cyrus in Celestic Town. I thought perhaps Weavile's Expert Belt Ice Shard would be enough to one-shot his Crobat. It's not, but he just misses Hypnosis, and then thinking he would heal, I go for a Swords Dance, but he doesn't, and this time hits a Hypnosis. Sometimes it can be hard to know which trainers heal and which ones don't, but I have Feraligatr finish it off with Aqua Jet. Magnezone comes in, I double check that it doesn't have a Focus Sash, it doesn't, so our Earthquake one-shots. Then against Honchkrow, I have Drapion weaken it with some Night Slashes, and then as it goes for Brave Bird at low health, I have Umbreon take it as it goes down to its own recoil. His last Pokemon is Weavile, and it only has Dark and Ice moves, so Feraligatr comes in and takes it out with 2 Earthquakes and Aqua Jet. Although, after 2 Swords Dances, it comes dangerously close to knocking out our Feraligatr with Ice Shard. Phew. Thankfully, we get by with no problems and make our way to the Pal Park where we have to face off against Dork.
Actually, my name is Dara.
Yeah, so Honchkrow holding Choice Scarf can easily get rid of the Gallade, which is his scariest team member. Then this prompts Empoleon to come in, which is great as it can't do much to our Feraligatr, and with support from Umbreon, we're able to easily set up 3 Swords Dances and take it down, and then sweep through Staraptor with Aqua Jet, Metagross with Crunch, and then Alakazam and Entei with a couple more Aqua Jets. And during this fight, Feraligatr learns Dragon Dance, which I replace Swords Dance with, and will make Feraligatr even better for sweeping moving forward. Dork gives us tea after defeating him, which lets us enter Canalave after this guard telekinetically drinks it from the other side of the room, and then we have another fight against the rival. His Staraptor is Choice Banded, so after scouting with Umbreon's Protect, it can't do anything to Spiritomb as it locks itself into close combat. I stall out its PP, hoping to maybe set up against it after forcing it to struggle, but I'm unable to get anything going before its recoil takes it out. Then comes Arcanine, and I switch to Feraligatr for Intimidate, then to Drapion on its weakened close combat before taking it out with Earthquake. Heracross comes in, and I tank a close combat, which lets 2 Poison Jabs take it out after the defense drop. Next is Breloom, and with our Battle Armor ability preventing crits, we can safely get off a strong Poison Jab, and we live its Force Palm, and thanks to us poisoning it, it goes down after 1 turn. Next is Snorlax, and after poisoning it with Umbreon and then keeping its attack races from Curse in check with Feraligatr, I send in Spiritomb to chip it down, and then lastly against Empoleon, I have Spiritomb finish the battle with a few Shadow Balls. Before we can enter the gym, we have to first take care of business at Iron Island, which includes a fight against Riley where after intimidating the lead Absol, Drapion can easily go behind a substitute, set up Swords Dances, and sweep. Here you see me elect to not learn Cross Poison as we have Poison Jab, which is a stronger Poison Stab, but I would actually find out after this run that in this ROM hack, Cross Poison was buffed to be base 90 power, higher than Poison Jab's 80. So yeah, this was the wrong choice of move, so I'll have to correct that when I do my Poison run. Anyways, we then team up with Riley to get rid of Team Galactic, and finally we're ready for the 6th gym leader, Byron. In our last run, we abused his lead Bronzong being setup fodder, and today we will do the same thing, as its only attacking move is Gyro Ball, so Houndoom can easily go behind a substitute, set up to +6 with Nasty Plot, and then sweep his team with Flamethrower. Aggron can live because of its Focus Sash, but on the healing turn we just go behind another sub and click Flamethrower a few more times. As you can see, I didn't even bother getting my team to the level cap. This battle is just that easy. 6 badges. Before trekking our way to Snowpoint City, we deal with the Team Galactic admins at the lakes, which we have a bit of trouble with, especially Jupiter, who gives us a good challenge, but we get by with no casualties. After defeating Byron, our level cap for the next gym increases to 56, which is great because it means we can finally evolve our Larvitar into Tyranitar and have it join the team, adding some massive strength to our ranks. After making it to Snowpoint City, before I can take on the Ice-type gym, there's the double battle against the Temple Guards. I lead Umbreon and Weavile against their Blissey and Heracross. Weavile's Aerial Ace takes out the Heracross in 1 hit, and Blissey hits us both lightly with Dazzling Gleam as I Toxic it. Then comes in Typhlosion, and I switch to Drapion, who takes a Lava Plume and gets burnt as I hit Typhlosion with Toxic. I then switch to Houndoom expecting another, but this time Typhlosion targets that spot with Earth Power, so we take massive damage but can just barely survive. I then switch to Spiritomb, who is brought below half after taking an Earth Power, Dazzling Gleam, and Hail damage, but I heal my Umbreon up as Blissey goes down to its poison. In comes Meganium, and with no switch-ins I stay in as we live in Earth Power, and thankfully Meganium's Petal Dance targets Umbreon, so we get off a Shadow Ball to take out Typhlosion and hit another Toxic on Meganium. Tyranitar comes in, and with no good switch-ins I have to stay in, and a Rock Slide takes out our Spiritomb. Rest in peace. This lets me bring in Weavile, who can take Tyranitar out with Rock Smash, and then the Meganium with an Ice Shard. Last is Feraligatr, and I switch to my own for the Intimidate, then can finish it off in the 2v1 with Umbreon. Tricky fight, and losing Spiritomb sucks, but with them out of the way, we can complete our fetch quest to have Candice return to the gym so that we can face her. Against her Abomasnow, I lead Umbreon and hit it with Toxic after tanking a few hits, and then heal off the damage before bringing in Tyranitar to get rid of the sand, and Abomasnow goes down. She sends in Wall Rain, and I switch to Feraligatr, who can wall its moves, but it hits a Yawn, so I switch to Umbreon, and I'm able to heal myself up, but get put to sleep. It can't do much damage though, and I eventually wake up, hit a Toxic, putting Wall Rain on a timer, and after stalling a bit, it goes down. I bring in Feraligatr against Mamoswine to weaken it and hit a Waterfall, but it does little damage because of its Peugeot Berry, and then I have to switch to Umbreon for another wall and stall kill with Toxic. Weavile comes in, and here is where Slow Baton Pass comes in handy, as I can have Umbreon stay in for its attack, which misses, but then pass my wish safely to Feraligatr to get healed up, and then take out Weavile with a crit Waterfall. I have our own Weavile come in against Froslass for the one shot from Feint Attack, and then against Glaceon it sets up double teams, but our Umbreon hits its second Toxic, so after a few turns of stalling it goes down, getting us the win. 7 badges. With Candice defeated, we all know it's time for the Team Galactic Gauntlet, starting off with the takedown of their Veilstone City headquarters. We get by the grunts easily and then have another battle against Cyrus. I have Houndoom lead to weaken his Crobat, and then go to Drapion, who still takes a chunk from Brave Bird as its Choice Banded. I get off a crunch, then go into Tyranitar, who takes over half from a crit, and I think about setting up, but it seems risky, so I send Drapion back in as it goes down to its recoil. Against Honchkrow, I take another crit Brave Bird as Umbreon, and it paralyzes itself with our Synchronize, and then I pass a Wish into Tyranitar and try setting up Dragon Dances, but it shuts that down with a Thunder Wave, so I just take it out. Magnezone comes in, and I have Houndoom take its Flash Cannon and one shot with Flamethrower. He sends his own Houndoom in, and I switch to Tyranitar again, who is weakened, but gets off an Earthquake to take it out after he tries setting up nasty plots. His last is Weavile, and I intimidate it back to back with Feraligatr and Houndoom, taking some weak hits but finishing it with a one-shot Flamethrower. Before we leave the headquarters, we face the last Galactic admin, Saturn, who like Byron leads with a Bronzong that our Houndoom can easily set up and sweep against, though we have to finish off his Alakazam with Drapion after stalling out its Focus Blast PP. We then chase Team Galactic to Spear Pillar, where some of the scariest fights of the run await. First against the admins in a 12v12. Of course, a rival will help out, and on the first turn I'm able to put Drapion behind a sub as he does the fighting. I set up a Swords Dance, and the opponents aren't targeting me much, so I can put damage on the left Crobat and then take out their Bronzong that they switched in. An Earthquake one-shots Electivire, and then I hit the Kangaskhan hard as their Crobat takes out the rival's Snorlax and also goes down to its recoil. An Earthquake then takes out Kangaskhan and chunks the Gastrodon, which our rival finishes with close combat. I then hit Perugly for massive damage as it takes out our rival's Heracross, and the Tangrowth Leech Seeds me, so I switch to Umbreon to stall for a bit as the rival's Breloom takes out Perugly, then goes down to Crobat, which the rival then revenge kills with Arcanine, followed by a one-shot on Yanmega, leaving us in a 2v1, and then it also finishes the Tangrowth. Really good stuff from him. From there, I have Tyranitar come in to handle the Skuntank and Bronzong, and then Houndoom comes in to close out against their final Pokemon, Sableye. Before heading into the Distortion world, I put together a team that is specifically crafted for our final fight against Cyrus, and annoyingly, I have to have a Surf user to get to him, so I have to compromise my Tyranitar's moveset by teaching it in the place of Earthquake. I go on to face Cyrus, and in the initial fight against Dialga and Palkia, I lead with Sableye and Umbreon. I have Sableye fake out the Palkia as Umbreon toxics it and takes an Aura Sphere from Dialga. I then protect with Umbreon as it gets double targeted, leaving Sableye open to get a free crit Shadow Claw, taking Palkia to low health, which lets me take it out on the next turn with Shadow Sneak. Dialga hits Roar of Time, which forces it to recharge, letting Umbreon heal up, and I switch freely into Mightyena, who does good damage with Banded Crunch, but goes down in one shot to an Aura Sphere. Rest in peace. Sableye then comes in and finishes the Dialga with Fake Out and Shadow Claw. Of course, we will now face Cyrus's normal team in a 5v6. I scout with the banded Crobat locks itself into with Protect and its Brave Bird, so I switch to Tyranitar and one-shot it with Rock Climb, which is a rock move in this game. Magnezone comes in, and as I said before, I don't have Earthquake, so I go to Umbreon and pivot my way into Feraligatr, who has Earthquake and one-shots it. I have Sableye chip the Honchkrow down before Drapion finishes it off, and then bring Tyranitar back in on Houndoom to knock it out with Rock Climb. I bring in Feraligatr to weaken the Gyarados as it just misses an Aqua Tail, and 2 crunches take it out. Last is his Weavile that I just hit with a Waterfall as it Swords Dances, and then I sacrifice Sableye to it, allowing me to bring Feraligatr back in to lower its attack, letting me live an Aerial Ace, and finishing the battle with another Waterfall. Man, Team Galactic never makes it easy, but I do feel good getting by them while only taking 2 deaths that I more or less had planned for. Moving on, we can finally add Luxray to our team just outside of Sunyshore because, as mentioned before, it was given Dark type in this game, which out of all the non-Dark types that were given it, I like this the most. I always thought it should have had it in the main series. Anyways, without further ado, we're ready to face the final gym leader, Volkner. Against him, Umbreon walls the Jolteon while stalling it with Poison, though it gets finished by Shiftry. I then have Houndoom one-shot Rotom Heat, and I could maybe one-shot Rotom Wash as well after a nasty plot, but I play it safe and just go to Shiftry to take it out with Bullet Seeds. With no good switch-ins to the fighting type Electivire, I elect to sacrifice Shiftry to get someone in safely. RIP. This lets me bring in Drapion, who can't quite one-shot with Earthquake, but we live Electivire's Earthquake, and it takes itself out with its Life Orb. Against Raichu, I try stalling it out with Umbreon, but it's doing too much damage and puts us on the ropes with Focus Blast and us paralyzed. But I set up a Wish and contemplate if I should stay in and protect for the heal while risking paralysis or make a switch. I ultimately switch to Drapion as it takes a Thunderbolt that it miraculously lives at 2 HP, letting me heal back to half and taking it out. His last is Luxray, and its banded Wild Charge does well over half to Tyranitar on the switch, so I go to Houndoom hoping I can live it after an Intimidate, but Houndoom goes down. RIP. I can then send in Weavile to finish it off with a super effective Rock Smash, which I don't think I mentioned but is a 60 base power move and is boosted to 90 with Weavile's Technician ability. Anyways, Volkner is defeated. 8 badges. I then face Dahlia before Victory Road. This time she is quite easy as Drapion handles the Blaziken with help from Protect, then Medicham locks itself into Fire Punch, letting Feraligatr set up on it easily and sweep her team. With our team, we have no trouble making it through Victory Road, which brings us to our final fight against Lucas. Surprisingly, Honchkrow with the Choice Scarf is still outsped by Alakazam, so we take a nasty Dazzling Gleam before one-shotting with Night Slash. I have Drapion take a close combat from Gramble and one-shot it with Poison Jab. Then I stall Mamoswine out of its Earthquake PP, and it's banded, so eventually it has to struggle, giving myself lots of time to heal up my team before it takes itself out. Against Lickilicky, I have to pivot around a bit for Intimidates and chip damage after Lucas heals it, but eventually we take it out. Then I make a dangerous switch into Weavile against Torterra, we live its Earthquake, and one-shot with Ice Shard. Last is Vaporeon, and the team is heavily damaged, so the only thing that can come in is Tyranitar, who can take its Muddy Waters decently thanks to the sand boosting its special defense, and after a Dragon Dance, we take it out with a pair of crunches. Before we face the League, there's one more fight with the rival. His Staraptor locks itself into close combat, which I stall out the PP of as I set up Toxic Spikes with Drapion, and then when it has to struggle, I heal back Drapion's lost health with Umbreon's Wish as it takes itself out. The Snorlax gets poisoned and tries to set up curses, but I keep its attack stat in check by continuously pivoting to Feraligatr for Intimidates, and the poison damage is too much and it eventually goes down. Heracross comes in and I bring in Drapion on a wickedly strong close combat that we barely live, and here is where our toxic spikes come back to bite us, as this thing is now boosted by Guts and our poison jab is not enough to take it out, so Drapion goes down. RIP. Weavile comes in for the revenge kill, and then against Breloom I can just stay in and one shot with Ice Shard. This thing is very frail and we have the Choice Band plus our Technician boost. Feraligatr and Umbreon keep Arcanine in check, and then I heal Feraligatr's health back with Wish before finishing the battle with 2 Earthquakes against Empoleon. Drapion was gonna be on my team for the league, so that is a tough loss, but now it's time to face them for the first time. First we face Aaron, and we get his team that leads Masquerain. If you don't know, all the members of the Elite Four have 4 different teams that they can choose at random. Honchkrow takes a lot from its Blizzard, but knocks it out with Fly. Then Heracross comes in, and I have Feraligatr intimidated as we just take a Stone Edge, but it has its Toxic Orb to raise its attack again with Guts. I switch to Umbreon hoping it can take a close combat, and it does, so I switch back to Feraligatr to lower its attack again, and we're hit hard with another, but then can take it out with Waterfall. Against Beautifly, I bring in Tyranitar, and its Bug Buzz is hurt, but I take it out with a Rock Climb easily. Then Scizor will finish me with Bullet Punch, so I Intimidate Pivot to Feraligatr, then to Absol on another, and I think I can only get out of this with a crit Night Slash, which I get in the clutch. Though with Super Luck and Scope Lens, the chance of that was pretty high. I have Tyranitar come in on Dustox and one-shot it with Rock Climb, and then the last is Drapion, and my team is heavily damaged and will need a miracle to get past this thing. Umbreon switches in on a critical hit Earthquake, which we live, but the sand finishes us, and then Weavile comes in, and a few banded Aerial Aces can damage it a bit, but it goes down to a pair of X Scissors. I bring in Feraligatr to get off an Earthquake as he heals, and then we're finished off with Night Slash. Our fastest remaining member is Absol, but it's still too slow and goes down, so it looks like we're resetting, but amazingly Tyranitar lives an Earthquake, and we're moving on by the skin of our teeth, but with only Tyranitar and Honchkrow, we do the best we can against Bertha, but ultimately we are finished off, ending the run. Alright, well, moving on to our next run, we don't have any issues getting back to the league as our strategies have become solid and reliable, so I make it to Victory Road with far fewer deaths than we had last time, and I use teams comprised of mostly secondary team members to make it through without risking the lives of Pokemon that I've established will be on my main league team. However, we quickly suffer a lot of deaths as Victory Road can be quite brutal. However, we make it back to the league, this time with Houndoom and Drapion still alive, and I believe the 2 of them will play vital roles on our team for the league. Against Aaron, we get his Masquerain-led team again, this time leading with Houndoom, but I immediately go to Umbreon on a Hydro Pump, and we have to be careful to play around crits and special defense drops against its Bug Buzz, but it gets none, eventually runs out of PP, and goes down to a Toxic Stall. Heracross comes in and goes for Protect to activate its Toxic Orb as I hit a slow Baton Pass into Houndoom, who can one-shot with Flamethrower. Against Drapion, I pivot to Feraligatr for the attack drop, then to my own Drapion who can tank his hits easily because of the debuff, and take it out with 2 Earthquakes. Tyranitar can easily come in on a Hurricane and one-shot Beautifly with Rock Climb. Houndoom can switch in well on a Bug or Steel move from Scizor. Its Bug Bite does over half, so that was a bit risky to a crit, but it goes down to a Flamethrower, and then Tyranitar comes back in to finish the battle with a Rock Climb on Dustox. We switch up the moves and items on our team, and then against Bertha we get one of her Tyranitar-led teams, and we lead off by intimidating with Feraligatr, but then switch to Umbreon as it locks itself into Thunder Punch because of its Choice Scarf, doing little damage. I begin a Toxic Stall while weakening it down with more Intimidates off Baton Pass and healing up any damage taken, before eventually having Feraligatr come in on a turn she will heal, allowing me to get a free Dragon Dance, get rid of her Sand with Rain Dance, and then take it out along with Rhyperior. I set up another Dragon Dance against Swampert, and we take an Earthquake. I think I should have attacked, but then it goes down in one hit, along with Dugtrio. It has Sand Veil, so getting rid of Sand was important for this thing. Then Mamoswine holds a Pachot Berry, so I'm not sure we can one-shot it, but I switch to Umbreon who can stall it, heal itself, and my Feraligatr back up, and then 2 Waterfalls take it out. And then the final Claydol is too weak to break through my Umbreon, so it also gets stalled out with Toxic, and then finished by Feraligatr. Against Flint, the question is really going to be whether we sweep with Feraligatr or Tyranitar, and how we will get either into a spot to set up Dragon Dance. We get his Torkoal-led team, and it gets its sun up over our Tyranitar, so I switch him out, then send him back in to get our sand up. Now this Torkoal's only moves to hit us with are a weakened Earth Power and a weakened Solar Beam, which takes 2 turns. I set up Stealth Rock and then decide to bring in Feraligatr to set up 2 Dragon Dances. I think my decision here was just to avoid the 5% miss chance we would have with Tyranitar's Rock Climb, and could instead have Waterfall score us 2 KOs. But after Arcanine comes in, we get intimidated for a second time, bringing us to a neutral attack. However, a Waterfall still one-shots. It also takes out Typhlosion and Magmortar, and then the Ghost Flying type Drifblim comes in, but as Dark types, this is no concern. I just have Tyranitar come in and one-shot it with Crunch. We have a favorable matchup against Lucian and his Psychic types. Drapion easily handles the lead Espeon, but it's set up Reflect, so we aren't quite able to sweep yet. I stall Girafarig out a bit with Umbreon before passing into Weavile, who can easily set up some Swords Dances as Lucian is prompted to heal. I take it out, and eerily similar to our last run with Ice types only, Weavile easily finishes off the rest of Lucian's team. So now it's time for Cynthia. Before facing her, I use our rare Candice to level up the team. They can max out at 78 for her. I lead Drapion against her Milotic-led team. Not the worst draw for us, but not the one I was hoping for. I set up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes as we take a Scald and she sets up Light Screen. Then we get a crit Poison Jab to take it out in one hit. Milotic is a Water Fairy type in this game, so it was super effective. Then she brings in Garchomp. It gets poisoned and I switch to Feraligatr for the Intimidate, and we take its Earthquake solidly. I then go to Umbreon on a mild Outrage, and I'm thankful it is not setting up Swords Dance. It gets a crit, bringing us to 19 HP, but we get off a Wish and then heal up with Protect. One more cycle of this and Garchomp goes down with us back to full health. Lucario comes in, and its fighting moves are especially scary with adaptability, but Umbreon has the bulk to live in Aura Sphere and get the slow baton pass to Houndoom, who one-shots with Flamethrower. I stall out Ampharos a bit with Substitute, but it refuses to miss a Focus Blast, and I eventually have to bring Drapion in on it, but Cynthia heals it up, and its Shuka Berry allows it to live 2 Earthquakes, so we take a Thunderbolt to 12 HP, but then can take it out. She sends in Staraptor, and I'm worried about close combat on a switch to Tyranitar, so I switch to Feraligatr for the Intimidate, and we take a strong Double Edge, but now she is locked into that, so Tyranitar can come in, take it out with a Rock Climb, and then her last Pokemon, Spiritomb, can really do nothing with it only having Dark Pulse for offense, so Weavile comes in and finishes the battle. Really good bounce back after our last run, but before we're done here, there is an entire post-game for us to go through in the Battle Resort. It mainly consists of the 6 unofficial gym leaders they have you face, and we're going to take them on. Most are pretty easy, but starting with Heather and her flying types, Umbreon Toxic stalls out the lead Pelipper, while I also have Tyranitar come in to get rid of its rain. I have Drapion come in and 2-shot the Fairy-type Togekiss with Poison Jab. Feraligatr then switches in and easily takes out Aerodactyl. I bring Drapion back for a 2-shot on Tropius, and then Tyranitar can easily come in on Pidgeot, get up a Dragon Dance, and then one-shot it and her Dragonite with Rock Climb. Next is Wyvern and his Dragon types, and after Umbreon and Feraligatr switch around to reduce the Kingdra's attack, stall it out, and eventually have it lock itself into weak Outrages, Weavile can come in, set up a Swords Dance, and sweep his entire team with some Ice Shards. Against the Fairy Trainer Luna, Drapion sets up a Swords Dance, and then everything goes down to Poison Jab, except Mawile, which we use Earthquake for. Very easy. Against Jean, the normal trainer, we stall out his lead Stantler, which is choiced, and then set up on it when it has to struggle with Drapion, who gets another sweep and easy victory. The Dark-type trainer Shade leads Houndoom, which our Tyranitar freely sets up Dragon Dances against, and then effortlessly takes out his whole team. We have one more fight against the Poison trainer Scythe. Weavile one-shots Gengar, Spiritomb takes out Toxicroak and Vileplume with Psychics. Weavile finishes Nidoqueen after it chips itself with Life Orb, Houndoom takes out the Crobat, and then finally Weavile comes back in to take out the Tentacruel with a few feint attacks. After this, in the desert area, we finally add our last member to the team in Cacturne, who gets to see a little bit of action against Team Galactic and in the Gym Leader rematches, and we get by both relatively easily as our sweeping capabilities at this point are just way too good with Tyranitar, Feraligatr, Drapion, Weavile, and Houndoom. We have a few tough battles, including this one where I'm stuck with half of my team asleep in a 2v1 against this close combating Poliwrath and a Dragonite, but after weakening them both with Intimidate, we're able to switch around and stall out the close combat PP, getting by them. Like Victory Road, I make it my priority to preserve all the team members I want to use for our rematch against the League, and instead put our other members in the line of fire. As a result, we do take a couple of losses in the post-game, including Honchkrow to this Fighting Trainer's Primeape, Spiritomb against Team Galactic, and then in Stark Mountain, Cacturne goes down to a crit Stone Edge, leaving us with our last 6 members to take on the League rematch with, and finish the run. This time the League's teams are always the same, so Houndoom can lead and easily one-shot Aaron's Yanmega with Flamethrower. I use Substitute to have the Heracross drop its defenses with close combat to assure I can one-shot with another Flamethrower. Against our Maldo, I bring in Feraligatr to weaken its moves and then take it out with 2 Waterfalls. Drapion can come in on Scyther to take its bug moves and finish it with 2 poison jabs. I then have Feraligatr weaken the relatively scary opposing Drapion, which lets Umbreon come in to set up a wish that can be safely passed to our Drapion, who now can come out on top in the 1v1. And then Houndoom comes in again on Scizor to give it another easy one-shot with Flamethrower. Against Bertha, we lead Feraligatr to weaken Hippowdon, and the first thing we do is get rid of the sand with our newly taught Rain Dance. Then we switch to Umbreon, who hits it with a Toxic, and after the toxic damage starts to rack up, we're able to put the Hippowdon in a spot where it will continuously spam Slack Off, which lets Feraligatr easily get to +6 from Dragon Dances and make quick work of her entire team. Flint leads Ninetales, and our Tyranitar will get rid of its Sun, as well as weaken its Solar Beams while forcing it to take 2 turns, so we can just get up a Dragon Dance and take it out, as well as a Fernape, which does not have Mach Punch. Houndoom lowers our attack, but we just DD again as it sets up a Solar Beam and then take it out, along with Magmortar, Rapidash, and Moltres. Drapion leads against Lucian and takes out the Mr. Mime after getting a +4 attack, and then we exchange a few Earthquakes with Metagross, taking it out. Then comes in Gallade, who goes down to a Poison Jab after we substitute, and it drops its defense with close combat. Latios comes in and will easily take us out, so I go to Umbreon, who takes its Specs Draco Meteor like a beast and can easily heal up with the Latios' special attack continuously plummeting, and with only 5 PP on Draco Meteor, it eventually has to struggle, at which point I bring in Weavile to set up a Swords Dance and clean up the fight. If you watched my last video, you should know we've basically got this in the bag. Cynthia's lead Spiritomb can only do damage with Dark Pulse, so Weavile easily gets up 2 Swords Dances against it and then takes it out, as well as Lucario, Togekiss, and Garchomp. And then Rayquaza has a Focus Sash, so I switch out to let Weavile live. Umbreon and Feraligatr stall it out and weaken it, letting Drapion come in to set up a Swords Dance as it goes down, and finish the battle with a one-shot Poison Jab on my Milotic, and there you have it. That is a hardcore Nuzlocke of Renegade Platinum, completed using only Dark-type Pokemon. For as frustrating as this run was at times, it was a lot of fun, and I do have to say the Dark type was much better than I was able to show, as a lot of our resets came down to me playing poorly, but man, I am glad to have this run done. It was months in the making. That being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and that you will stick around by giving me a sub, because I've got many more runs coming that you won't want to miss. See you next time.